Okay, Sec 4E mock exam paper 2. All right, question 1. State the country with the smallest population. So if you observe all the values, right, they're all 10 to the power 7. So just observe the number at the side. So Sri Lanka is the smallest one, okay? Find the difference in area between Sri Lanka and Pakistan, leaving answer in standard form. Okay, so this one you can either do a little bit of working or you can just type in your calculator to get the answer. So 8.82 times 10 to the power 5 minus 6.56 times 10 to the power 4. Okay, sometimes your calculator, right, will not give you the exact standard form. Okay, it will give you like maybe like 0 point something to the power of 10 to the power of something. Then from there, you figure it out, the closest number. So what I would recommend is you do a little bit of working first. So 8.82 times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, so since this is already in standard form, and this is the smaller number, you might want to adjust this, all right? So you can write this as 0.656 times 10 to the power of 5. Then from here, you factorize 10 to the power of 5. So it becomes 8.82 minus 0.656 bracket times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, so from here, the answer will be 8.1645. Okay, part 3. So find the value of the largest population density from these countries, leaving answer in standard form. So what's population density, right? Just take the population divided by the area. Okay. So if you observe that, right, most of this is 10 to the power 7. I mean, all these three numbers 10 to the power 7. Now the area is a bit different. This 10 to the power 4, 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power 5. So you might want to just do a little calculation in your head, right? So this is 10 to the power 7, this 10 to the power 4, right? So when you do the division, this will be like about 0.3 times 10 to the power of 3. Okay. Then this one, right? 5.17 divided by 1 is still 5.17. 10 to the power 7 divided by 10 to the power 5 gives you 10 to the power 2. So 5.17 times 10 to the power 2. Okay. And this one here, right? 2 over 8. So roughly about, let's say 0.4. Then 10.8 over 10 to the power 5 is 10 to the power 3. Right? So when you do the adjustment, you will realize that this number here has the largest population density. So it's 5.17 times 10 to the power of 2. Okay, B part 1. So it's always change over original times 100%. So the change is 702,800 minus 678,202 over. Then you simply multiply by 100, you will get 3.5%. Okay. Part 2. So calculate the population density in 1984, given that there's a 12% increase from 1984 till 2020, which means this number here is 112%. Okay, so just take 702,800. The denominator, put the percentage associated with this number here, so it's 112, multiplied with the percentage that you're trying to find. This is 100%. You'll get 627,500. Okay, part C. Now, whenever you see a scale, right, it's always written cm against cm, right? So this is on your paper. This is the actual wall, okay? So right now, 1 cm is associated with 12,500 cm. The 12,500 cm is 125 meters, which is 0.125 kilometers. So switch it around. So 0.125 km is associated with 1 cm. Okay, what you want to do, right, is square both sides. So you realize 1 over 64 km squared is 1 cm squared. So if it's 8 kilometers squared, all you have to do is just take this number over this number times 1. So 8 over 1 over 64 times 1. You immediately get 512 cm squared. Okay, question 2a. So what you want to do is rearrange this. So you can write this as 6 CD minus 3 dy plus 2cx minus xy. Factorize 3d out over here. You have 2c minus y. Factorize x over here. You will have 2c minus y. So do you see this and this? Factorize it out now. You will get 3d plus x. Okay, part B. So factorize your numerator. 2x squared minus 14x plus 8. You get 3x minus 2 bracket, x minus 4 bracket. Over, this is x plus 4, x minus 4. Cancel, cancel. Three x minus 2 over x plus 4. Okay, part C. Cross multiply, so y bracket y plus 5 equals to 2 bracket 2y plus 3. So y squared plus 5 only equals to 4y plus 6. So it's y squared plus y minus 6 equals to 0. Factorize this, you should get y plus 3, y minus 2 equals to 0. So your answer is y equals to minus 3 or y equals to 2. Okay, part D, show that the following is divisible by 5 for all integer values of n. Okay, so from here, just expand this out. This is 5n squared minus 5 plus 15n minus 3 plus 8. So this will become just 5n squared plus 15n. You can just factorize 5 out. So in this case, although you may be tempted to factorize 5n, right? For this particular question, you can just factorize 5 out, leaving n squared plus n on the inside. So the purpose of doing this is to just tell the examiner that, okay, this expression, right, no matter what, it's multiplied by 5. Therefore, it's always divisible by 5. So how do you write it in words? You can just write that 5 is a factor of the expression. Hence, it is divisible by 5 for all integer values of n. Let's conclude it with that statement. Okay? Okay, 3a. So you're asked to plot y equals to 6 over x squared. So this is how your graph should look like. Okay? So make sure you write the values for this. This should be 0.67. Round it off. This is minus. No, this is also 0.67. So both values are the same, 0.67. All right? Okay. Next one for 3c. Use a graph to find the values of x when y equals to 2. Okay, so when y equals to 2, just draw a straight line here. And then read off your two values here. So you realize that the values, right, it's sitting in like in middle of one of the tiny squares. So your answer is minus 1.75 or 1.75. Two answers. So this is for part B. Okay, part C. Oh, apologies. This is for part C, what I just did. Okay, part D. Draw a tangent. Find the gradient of the curve when x equals to 1.5. So when x goes to 1.5, it's somewhere over here. Okay. You have to draw a tangent. Yes. So you can draw a tangent to the curve where x goes to 1.5. Then you go and calculate the gradient, okay? So the gradient formula is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Now, please take note of the rule. When you're selecting your coordinates, do not select a coordinate that's given to you. Do not do that, okay? You must select your own coordinate. So select it like sufficiently far apart, then you calculate it, okay? So your gradient should be minus 3.5, okay? So now that the exact, not say the exact answer, this is the standard answer, minus 3.5, but they will have a plus minus variance, okay? So as long as you give an answer that is minus 2.5 till minus 4.5, they will accept. So this is your range of answer they can give, right? If your gradient is out of this range, then it's wrong, right? Okay, by drawing a suitable straight line on the grid, solve the equation as follows, okay? Okay, so for this equation here, right, what is given to you is y equals to 6 over x squared. So how did they arrive at this equation? Probably there was another equation, y equals to something. Then they did a simultaneous for these two equations, and they brought it down to this. So what you want to do is work your way backwards such that on the left side, you get 6 over x squared, right? So since we have some kind of 6 over x here, just put 6 over x equals to 2x minus x squared. Okay? Then, instead of dividing both sides by x, you realize that you can factorize x out here, right? So x, 2 minus x here. Bring the x down. So 6 over x squared equals to 2 minus x. So the other equation was here, y equals to 2 minus x. Okay, so you're going to draw y equals to 2x on the graph above. So y equals to 2 minus x. So the y-intercept is 2. And in other words, when x is minus 2, y is 4. Okay. So we can extend this, draw it like that. Okay, you see intersection point over here? This has to be your answer. So again, it looks like a point that is in the middle of a tiny square. So this is about minus 1.35. Okay, so we're done in question 3. Let's move on to question 4. Okay, so before I do that, let's look at the bearing. The bearing of B from A is 72. So they say from A, right? So A is a reference point. You go clockwise all the way till you reach in the direction of B. So that's 72 degrees. Next, the bearing of C from A. So again, A is a reference point. You go all the way clockwise till you reach in the direction of C. That's 205 degrees. So which means angle B, A, C is actually 205 degrees minus 72 degrees. So you have 133 degrees. So now that you know what BAC is, you can now go and calculate the length BC using the cosine rule. So write down BC square equals to 95 square plus 170 square minus 225 170 cosine 133. Now, if you're still having trouble with memorizing the cosine rule formula, right? You think of this portion as the weird Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so actually any length can be the hypotenuse in the cosine rule. Okay, so let's say BC is the hypotenuse, that should be the main of the equation, the subject of the equation. Then you just put the two sides, square it. Then on this side, right, you just put 2ab. It follows a bit like your special product, you know, the a square minus 2ab plus b square, something like that. So this is your 2ab. The two values that you choose here, okay, should create the angle. So if you see 95 and 170, so these two lines create this angle, 133. That is your cosine, then you put your angle there, okay? Key this in a calculator, square root it. Your answer for BC should be 244.85. Round it off, you should get 245. Okay, find the bearing of A from C. Okay, so from C, what you want to do is draw a north. So once you draw a north, these two is now parallel. Okay, go clockwise till reach the direction of A. Okay, so the bearing of C from A is 205. So which means this angle over here has to be 360 degrees minus 205. That should be 155 degrees. So this 155 degrees. So using interior angles, okay, so you have to write a reasoning. Huh? So I'll do the working properly. Okay, so for part B, write down angles at a point. You must write a reasoning. Then from here to here, just take 180 degrees minus 155 degrees, you get 25 degrees. Just write interior angles. Okay, so don't stop there. When you go and report your answer, right, they're asking for bearing. So bearing, you cannot write 2 digits. It must always be in 3 digits. So your answer is 0 to 5 degrees. Okay, C part 1, show that AD is 86.1. So this is actually based off the diagram above. So we found out that this is 25 degrees, right? So using alternate angles, this should also be 25 degrees. Okay, so you can write down angle CAD equals to 25 degrees. Okay, in this case, there's labeling, so you can write down that AD is parallel to the north. You can be a bit more specific, like north at C. Okay, so from here, you want to find what's AD, right? So from 25 degrees, AD is adjacent, AC is the hypotenuse. So you can write down cosine 25 degrees is equals to adjacent over hypo. So AD is 95 cosine 25. So it's 86.1 degrees. Okay, part two. A point X is at the top of a vertical mast at A, okay? The angle of elevation of X from B is 7. Okay, so for this type of question, right, what I want you to do is place your pen at point A. The top of your pen, right, is the point X. So it's like a 3D roll. You place your pen at point A. Right at the top of your pen is the point X, okay? So from the top of the pen, right, if you connect it to point B, point D, or point C, you'll create 3 different right-angled triangles, okay? So the first one is you're going to create a right angle where the top of your pen is X, right? So XAB. Sketch it out quickly. Okay, so from here, what you want to do is find the length of XA. So tangent 7 equals to XB over 170. So XB equals to 170 tangent 7, which equals to 20.8733. So it's not a final answer, so just leave it up to 4 decimal places, okay? Now they say, right, calculate the angle elevation of X from D. So now that you found D, right, you can create another right angled triangle. So this time round, right angled triangle will be XAD. Okay, they want you to find what this angle is. So write down tangent XDA equals to 20.8733 over 86.0992. So XDA equals to tangent inverse of this fraction. You should get 13.62. Round it off to 1 decimal place, it should be 13.6 degrees. Okay, 5A. Calculate FH. Okay, so when you're doing vectors, right, think of it this way. F to H, how do you travel from F to H? That's the whole point. Okay, so it has to be a seamless travel. So they say GH is -1, -8, right? So instead of changing GH to HG or whatever, right? So you can actually travel from F to G. So now, once you travel from F to G, right? G to H is -1 to 8. So F, so let's say F and G somewhere here. So I can travel from F to G. I can travel from F to G, then from G to H. So that's how I travel from F to H via G. So I can just find what the vector is for FG. It's OG minus OF. Okay. So OG minus OF is -2, 4, -6, 1. So then I get you -8 and 3. So FH will be equals to FG plus GH. Okay, so once you're done with this, right, you want you to find the magnitude. Okay, so FH is -9 squared plus -5 squared. Square root is 10.295. So roughly is 10.3. OX in terms of M, K, A, and B. So before you find OX is a scale factor of OC, right? So go and find what OC is first. Okay, so how do you travel to OC? Go from O to A, then A to C. So write down OC equals to OA plus AC. This is A. K. Okay, so now that you find what's OC, right? OX equals to M bracket A plus K. So you can even expand this if you want to. MA plus MK. Okay, so part 2, given that Bx equals to 3 over 5A minus B, find the value of K. Okay, so how do you travel from B to X? So if you observe this diagram here, right, to travel to Bx, you can go from BO then to OX. Okay, so I want to split this equation here. OX minus OB. So we already found what OX is, right? Which is right here. Minus. Okay, so now we have a new expression for BX. We equate it with this. Okay, so M equals to 3/5. MK minus 1 equals to minus half. So replace the M with 3/5. So you have 3/5K minus 1 equals to minus half. So K equals to half divided by 3/5. You should get 5/6. Okay, question 6. Calculate an estimate of the mean amount of money spent. Okay, so if you look at this, right, this is the frequency. The amount of money spent is not fixed. It's actually a range. So given there's a range, you can only calculate the estimate of the mean amount. Okay. So which means we're going to select all the mid values of the range here. So this is 15, this is 35, this is 45, 55, and this is 75. You write down 22 times 15. And this whole thing over 95. So you should get 42.7894. Round it off, you should get 42.8. Okay, next one, calculate an estimate of the standard deviation. So your standard deviation formula is the summation of fx squared over the summation of f minus. Okay, so now if you observe this formula, right, the bracket inside here is actually your mean. Okay, the 42.7894. Now this part here, right, basically you take 22 times 15 squared plus 16 times 35 squared plus 24 times 45 squared, so on, and you divide it by the number of data. Okay, so I'm going to write it out now. Okay, key this entire thing in calculator, you should get 19.31. Round it off to 3SF, 19.3. Okay, B part 1, explain why the mean is an estimated value. Okay, why is it an estimated value is because the value of M used to calculate the mean is the mid value and not the actual value. Okay, so I repeat again, the value of M used to calculate the mean is the mid value and not the actual value. Okay, part two. Tristan says that if the value had been included in the table, then the estimated mean would have been higher. Okay, so without calculation, explain why he is correct. Because 41 is in the range of 40 till 50. So the mid value of 45 would have been used to estimate the mean, which is higher than the estimated mean. Okay, let's move on to part C. So this is the mean and standard deviation for Wednesday. So you compare it with the value that you got from Tuesday. So you can just make two observations. So I'm just going to say that the amount of money spent on Wednesday is higher than on Tuesday because of the mean. And Wednesday is less varied than Tuesday. That's all. I repeat one more time. The amount of money spent on Wednesday is higher than on Tuesday because the mean is higher for Wednesday. Then the second point is Wednesday is less varied than on Tuesday because of the standard deviation. Okay, part D. So this one is based on probability. So there are 10 cards in a set, okay? So it's either the green card or the red card. If within the green card, you have a square triangle. Within the red card, so you have a square and triangle, okay? So based on the question, find a probability that both cards show a green shape. Okay. And if you read the question carefully, right, it's stated that the card is replaced when you pick. So no matter what, the total stays the same. So as far as green shape is concerned, right, there's a total of 7 green shapes. So your probability is 7/10 when you pick it up the first time. Then the second time, it's still 7/10. So your answer is 49/100. So make sure you write P, probability that both cards show a green shape. Write this inside here. Then you do your working. Okay, part two, find a probability that both cards show the same shape. So as long as the same shape, it's fine. And this time around, there's no replacement. Okay, so if you look at the same shape, right? Over here, so you have to look at it horizontally. As far as square is concerned, there's a total of 4 out of 10 first. If you pick again, it's 3/9. Add on to another probability where if you look at if it's triangle, it's 6/10. Then when you pick again, it'll be 5/9. So add these two probability. So right now, probability that both cards show the same shape. Write this inside here. So it's 4/10 times 3/9 bracket plus 6/10 times 5/9. Add this up, you should get 7/15. Okay, now when you observe this question here, right, you want to show that triangles ACE and FBE is congruent. So ACE is and FBE. Okay, so if you realize, right, AEC is actually a triangle that's sitting inside a semicircle because B happens to be the center, right? And same goes with BEF or FBE. It's also a right angle triangle sitting inside a semicircle. So the first thing that you can write is angle AEC equals to angle FBE, which equals to 90 degrees. Then you write right angle in a semicircle. Next one, you can write down that AC equals to FE in terms of length because diameter of a circle. See, diameter of circles, since these two circles are identical to each other. And lastly, you can write EC equals to BE. The radius of circles. Okay, part two, state another triangle that is congruent to AEC. The triangle is BFD. Because BFD is also another right angle triangle sitting inside a semicircle. Okay, part three, right? Explain why EB is parallel to DF. Okay. So they want you to explain why this is parallel to this. Okay. So from this side here, right, DEF, this is a right angled triangle, so this is 90 degrees. And from this side, this is another right angled triangle, BDF. It's also 90 degrees. So this 90 degrees, which means interior angles, they add up to 180 degrees, right? So how to explain, you just write down angle EBF equals to angle DFB, which is 90 degrees. Then you can write down the angle EBF plus angle DFB equals to 180 degrees. Means when I add these two angles, I will get 180 degrees. So it follows this rule when if it's parallel, and let's say this is 80 degrees and this 100 degrees. So if I didn't say this is parallel, and I say this 80 degrees and this 100 degrees, by rule of interior angles, it makes these two lines equal because these two add up to 180 degrees. Same for this 90 and 90, 180 degrees, right? That indicates that BE is parallel to FB. So you write down by converse of interior angles EB is parallel to BF. Okay, B part one, find ABE. Okay, so they want you to find what this angle is, right? And earlier on, we wrote down that state another triangle is congruent to AEC. Then we wrote down is BFD, correct? Okay. So if AEC is congruent to BFD, what this means is this line here should also be equals to 5 cm. Okay. So if this line is also 5 cm, this and this is the radius of a circle. It's also 5 cm and 5 cm, which means this is 60 degrees. So alternate angles, parallel lines, this 60 degrees. This is also 60 degrees. Therefore, this is 120 degrees. So how to write your working? You can write down that you just point out that angle DFC equals to 60 degrees, then put equilateral triangle. Then you write down angle BEF. BEF equals to angle DFC, which equals to 60 degrees. Write down alternate angles, quote your parallel lines, BE parallel to FD. Then you put this equals to angle EBC. Then you can write down angle ABE equals to 180 minus 60 degrees. Right angles on a straight line. Okay, so this is 120 degrees, right? So for part 2, this whole segment here is 1/3 of a circle because 120 over 360 degrees, right? So find the area of the sector, then minus the area of the triangle. So right now 120 over 360 degrees, pi squared. It's half AB sine theta. Okay, this in a calculator, you should get 15.35, which rounds off to 15.4 cm squared. Okay, 8A. 12 minutes, 3,000 liters, 1750 liters, how many minutes? So write down 3,000 liters, 12 minutes. So 1750 liters. Simply take this number over this number times 12. They'll get you 7 minutes straight away. Okay, B part 1. Write down an expression in terms of X for number of minutes the small pump takes to fill the empty tank. So X liters, 1 minute. So it's 2,500 liters. 2500 over X times 1. So part 2 tells you that it takes 15 minutes longer to fill the empty tank using the small pump, which is this one, than it does with the larger pump. So this definitely takes longer. So 2,500, sorry, 2,500 over x minus 2,500 over x plus 2. So x plus 20 equals to 15. Now you don't have to change the time in hours because everything is in tailored to per minute. The rate is in per minute, so don't have to change this one. So just cross multiply 2500. Okay, so you expand the bracket, this 2500x minus 2500x, that gives you nothing. So you just left it 50,000 at the top. Bring this up here. So 15x squared. So divide by 5. Okay, part 3 is quite easy. Just use the quadratic formula to solve it. So you get 48.59 or minus 68.59. Okay, part 4. Find the length of time the large pump takes to fill the empty tank. So you just take 2500 over. So it's 36.448. So this should roughly give you, you just take the decimal, the 0.448, and just times 60. You get 36 minutes and 27 seconds. Okay, now let's move on to the last question. Okay, so when you observe this question, right, this is how the actual object looks like, okay? But for reference sake, they decided to map this object to look like a cylinder with a hemisphere on it, okay? So one thing to take note is in the actual object, right, you cannot fill the tank to 100%. 90% is the maximum capacity, remember that, okay? So whatever calculations that you do, right, later you just multiply it 90%, okay? Okay, now let's look at part A. Find the area in square meters of the base of the oil tank. So this one is just pi r squared. Just write down pi 2.1 over 2 square. 3.4636. 3.46. Okay, now for the next part, right, find the volume in cubic centimeters of the oil tank. Okay, so let's put in a few values here. So the radius here, right, is 2.1 divided by 2. So this is 2.1 divided by 2 is 1.05 meters. This is the radius. Then your entire height over here is at a height of 2.55. Okay, so given this hemisphere, right? So the height of the hemisphere is also the radius, which is 1.05, which means the height of your cylinder here is 2.55 minus 1.05. So it's 1.5. So the height over here is 1.5 meters. Okay, so from here, right, all you have to do to find the volume, hemisphere is half times 4 third pi r cubed plus pi r square h. Okay, so you just replace the radius with 1.05, you replace the h with 1.5, and then you just calculate it. Okay, so I'll show you how I would do it here. Okay, so before I put in all the values, right, I do not like to repeat values sometimes. So half times 4 third is actually 2/3 pi r cubed plus pi r square h. The pi and the radius are the same, so you can actually factorize the pi r square out. So you're just left with 2 third pi r. Sorry, you're just left with 2 third r plus h. Okay, so you only have to repeat pi r square once. So just write pi 1.05 square. Inside the bracket, just write 2 third 1.05 plus the height is 1.5. Put that in. So inside this bracket, right, when you go and calculate it, it's actually 2.2. So in the end, you're just calculating pi times 1.05 square, bracket 2.2. You should get 7.6199. Round it off, you get 7.62. Okay, part C. So there's a lot of info present in part C. So let's break it down first. So as said earlier on, right, the tank is never filled to more than its safe volume. It will need special foundation if total weight on the ground beneath is greater than 15 kilonewtons per meter square. So given that the model is an underestimation of the actual volume of the tank, does the tank need a specific foundation? Okay. So how do you solve this? So firstly, 1 meter cube. So based on the information present above, 1 meter cube is 820 kg. So 7.6199 meter cube. Just take 7.6199 times 820. You should get 6248.3450 kg. So you can only fill up to 90%. So take 6248.3450 times 90%. You get 5623.5105 kg. Now, this is the one that we're going to use to convert it to kilonewtons. So it says here that 1000 kg is equivalent to 9.81 kilonewtons. So if it's 5623.5105 kg, just take this number over 1000 times 9.81. you'll find out it's 55 kilonewtons. So take the 55.1666 kilonewtons and divide it by the base area to find out the kilonewtons per meter square. So I'm just using the exact value. It should equals to 15.92. Okay, so if you read the question, it will need special foundation if it's greater than 15 kilonewtons per meter square, right? So we already calculated and found out that it's more than 15 kilonewtons per meter square. So justify your decision now. Okay. So how are you going to type this in words? I'm going to keep this up here first. Okay. So how you justify it is you can write down that an underestimation of the actual volume. So our whole calculation here is based on an underestimation, right? So you're going to write down an underestimation of the actual volume already registers 15.9275 kilonewtons per meter square, which exceeds the threshold of 15 kilonewtons per meter square. Hence, the tank requires a specific foundation. So I'm going to type what I just said. Okay. So this value exceeds. Hence, the tank requires a specific foundation. All right, so we've come to the end of the paper two, right? Thank you all for listening.